Today is Monday, July 15th, and I'd like to call to order the July zoning voting meeting. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lundy.
Here.
Commissioner Derrick.
Here.
Commissioner Oster.
Here.
Commissioner Ward.
Here.
Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Here.
Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Here.
Commissioner Beeler.
Here.
Commissioner Daly. Commissioner Jay.
Here.
Commissioner Frazier. We have 10 members present.
Thank you. Commissioner Lundy, if you'd lead us in our pledge, please.
Stand, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioners, you have your agenda in front of you. Are there any amendments that need to be noted? I see no lights. May I have a motion to approve previous minutes? Motion by Jay, second by Beeler. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item listed on the agenda is public forum. We do have two speakers signed up, and if there's no objection, I'd like to hold the speakers until the actual item is heard. Do the speakers have any objection with that? Thank you. That is standard, but I want to be sure that everyone understands that. All right, moving ahead. First item, please.
Request of Knox Williams for rezoning from A agricultural to RA low-density residential located at 9419 Dutchtown Road, parcel ID 119HF026 in the 3rd Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Mr. Williams, are you here? We'll move that to the bottom of the agenda. Next item, please.
It's a request of Leslie Russell Smith for rezoning from A agricultural to RA low-density residential at 8237 Collier Road, parcel ID 046142 in the 7th Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Please come forward. Would you state your name and address for the record, ma'am?
Thank you. Leslie Brussel-Smith, 8237 Collier Road, Powell, New York.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to this item present? Seeing none. Director Brooks, would you read the recommendation?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the RA low-density residential zone because it's consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and other development in the area on consent.
Thank you. Ma'am, do you want to speak to your project?
I'm willing to answer questions if there are any. I don't know anything else to say. I'm planning to build a small home for myself so that my daughter and her family can live right next to me in the main home that's already there. So I'm hoping that that's going to be okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have a motion on this item? Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to ask a few questions, if I may.
May we get a motion on the
Okay, I'm
floor?
sorry.
Would you like to make the motion or not?
Not at this time.
All right.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that. We have a motion on the floor by Ward, second by Hill. Discussion, Commissioner Lee.
Ma'am, when you gave the address, you said New York. Do you mean Powell?
Oh, did I say New York? Tennessee, Powell, Tennessee.
You did say New York.
I lived in New York for most of my life, so I guess it's embedded in there.
Are you the lady that I spoke to on the phone?
I believe so, yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
Okay. So this is just for one house for your daughter,
For me, yes.
for you? Mm-hmm. And I know we discussed about your outreach to any of the neighbors. Was there any more since I followed up with you?
Not since then, I haven't been able to reach the one neighbor behind.
Okay. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any more questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck with building your home, ma'am.
Thank you very much, I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Next item, please.
Item number 3 is the request of Edward E. Sharp for rezoning from PR Plan Residential to A Agricultural. The property is located at 8519 Strawberry Plains Pike, parcel ID 0622771, part of, in the 8th Commission District.
Thank you. Is Mr. Sharp or someone representing him here? If you'd state your name and address for the record, sir.
Edward E. Sharp. I live at 217 McCubbins Road, Knoxville.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to this item? I see none. Planning, would you read the recommendation?
Certainly. Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve A agricultural zone because it is consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and surrounding development on consent.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to your project, sir?
Well, this property is something I've owned now, and it is adjoined by A, and we're just trying to add to our property, and I'd like to build another house on it.
All right. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments? Seeing none, Commissioner Beeler?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to make a motion that we approve this rezoning from agriculture, from planned residential to ag, per the recommendation of the Planning Commission.
We have a motion on the floor by Beeler, a second by Oster. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Ward?
Oh, no, ma'am, sorry.
Seeing no other lights, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Your motion carries. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next item, please.
Item number 4 is a request of Francis Lewis for rezoning from A Agricultural to RA Low Density Residential. The property is located at 7915 Griffith Road, parcel ID 028156 in the 7th Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Hi.
Hi,
If you say your name and address for the record, please.
Frances Lewis, 7915 Griffith Road.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to this project? Seeing none, Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve RA low-density residential zone because it is consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and other development in the area on consent.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments about this project? Seeing none, Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a few questions. I did reach out to you and wasn't able to get a hold of you. What are your plans for this property?
Well, my daughter and I bought the property together, and I would just like to build a small home for myself, and she could have the main house.
One home?
One additional. Okay.
And where would the access be? From what street?
Well, there's a drive, it would just be to the driveway off of Griffith.
So you're going to share the driveway? Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd make a motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve per planning recommendation by Lee, second by Ward. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chair, do I need to read it, what I'm making a motion for?
I qualified per the planning recommendation.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other lights, all those in favor? Opposed? Your motion carries. Good luck with building your home.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item 5 is a request of Stefan Claire, 1222 Development, for rezoning from A agricultural to PR Plan Residential, up to 2 dwellings per acre. Property is located at 8511 Howell Lane, parcel ID 051DC01001 in the 8th Commission District.
Thank you. Your name and address, sir?
Good evening. Yes, ma'am. My name is Stephanie Claire, 7800 Senate Lane, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37931.
Thank you. Is there any opposition present to this zoning? Seeing none, Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the PR Plan Residential Zone up to 2 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and surrounding development.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to your project?
I would just ask that it's approved per the Planning Commission's recommendation, if that's okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, Commissioner Beeler?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we're looking here, sir, at a maximum of around 10 dwellings.
Yes, sir. This was actually one of the properties that was greatly changed by the new Advanced Knox plan. It shifted the planned growth area to the center of the street. So this would have been could have been PR 5, but it shifted down. And when I submitted the KKCP office, changed the request, we changed it down to 2 per acre. So it'd be 10 about half acre lots for single family homes.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion, we approve this rezoning from agricultural to planned residential at up to 2 dwelling units per acre per the Planning Commission recommendation.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor by Beeler, second by Daly. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Your motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Item number 6 is a request of Lovell Place LLC and Lovell Place at Cornerstone Drive LLC for rezoning from OB Office Medical and Related Services, A Agricultural, and TO Technology Overlay to CA General Business and TO Technology Overlay. The property is located at 1013 and 1033 Lovell Road, parcel ID 118-05001-049 in the 6th Commission District.
Thank you. Your name and address, please.
Ben Mullins, 550 West Main Street, here for the applicant Lovell Place LLC.
Thank you. Is there any opposition? Seeing none, Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the CA General Commercial Zone because it's consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and surrounding development. The TO Technology Overlay will be retained.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'd like to make this motion to approve as recommended by Planning Commission.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Hill, a second by Oster. I do have a couple of questions, if I could, Mr. Mullins.
Yes, ma'am.
I saw where was it your party that offered to do a traffic light and you were told it wasn't needed?
I don't recall that. I know it's Lovell Road is a TDOT controlled intersection. I know
Right.
it was previously zoned OB, and the back portion of it was approved for some apartments that are being developed, and they did traffic impact analysis as
Cornerstone.
part of that. And I don't recall right now off the top of my head if I don't think it warranted a traffic light. It was a traffic impact analysis, but I'll have to, I don't know if Director Snowden has any more memory on that.
Mr. Stone, on that?
Yes, the development that was, I guess, Dominion's apartments that were built on the east side of the road. The traffic study, I think it warranted a signal in the peak, or like the AM peak or the peak hour warrant. TDOT likes to see the 8-hour warrants met, which essentially you're not just meeting the warrant in 1 hour, you're meeting it over a long period of the day. So TDOT, I think Dominion was hoping to install the signal, but TDOT, being this is state highway and they ultimately make that decision, they chose not to allow the signal, but obviously we'll, look at this location and analyze it again. But at that point, it did not meet the warrant. or the
Okay.
warrants that TDOT required.
I had just seen a little note on that and wondered.
I
No,
didn't recall.
no problem,
I
Mr.
apologize.
Mullins.
Apparently, it was the apartments across the street, not even the one that's behind this property.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments? We have an appropriate motion and second on the floor. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Your motion carries.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Item number 7 is a request of Masana Investments LLC for rezoning from PC Plan Commercial to PR Plan Residential, up to 12 dwelling units per acre. Properties located at 0 Asheville Highway, parcel ID 062-02308, 02309, in the 8th Commission District.
Thank you. Hi, your name and address?
Drew Staton, P.O. Box 11315, Knoxville, Tennessee 37939.
Thank you. Is there any opposition present for this zoning? Seeing none. Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve PR Plan Residential Zone up to 12 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any questions or comments?
I have one.
Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Snowden, is this portion of Asheville Highway controlled by TDOT?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can they require him an right turn in, left turn out, or a turn in, turn out, or would that?
I've had some early on conversations with the traffic office, and obviously, those conversations may bear out differently, but when I originally talked to TDOT, they said that they would not allow left in, so this access would most likely be restricted to a right in, right out because of the median along Asheville Highway.
Okay, even for 100 and say 20, 25 dwelling units?
That's correct. Yeah, the spacing of the medians and getting the turn lanes and all the tapers in, there's some, I guess, concern that TDOT had with allowing that to occur.
Okay, thank you.
So if 120 units have to all make a right turn, then where the next break in the median is that still DOT? Or is that Knox County?
It would be. It essentially would, the next upstream or downstream median openings would serve as U-turns, which TDOT, obviously, that's what they would require these folks to do, which the road would accommodate that from its width and radiuses, so.
So you're comfortable with that setup?
Yes, sir, in this
Okay.
situation.
Okay. All right. Seeing no other lights, Commissioner Beeler?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yes, I agree with what Mr. Snowden's saying. I think this is I think most of us, all of us are familiar with Asheville Highway. It's a 4-lane divided highway. This is very much a mixed-use corridor. And really, I think this is the kind of development we need to see around this 4-way in area in order to revitalize it. Because a lot of folks have approached me in that Carter community, Ruggles Ferry community, about wanting to see some better commercial development around the 4-way in area. Well, that's not going to happen if we don't get some medium to higher density residential in there too. So I appreciate this, and I make a motion that we approve this rezoning from planned commercial to PR up to 12 dwelling units per acre as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Thank you. We have a motion by Beeler, a second by Jay. On the floor, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Your motion carries. Good luck on your project. Next item.
Item number 8, request of Elizabeth Davis Rains for rezoning from A agricultural to RA low-density residential. The property is located at 7639 Gibbs Road, parcel ID 021-08510, part of, in the 8th Commission District.
Thank you. Ms. Rains, or anyone representing Ms. Rains present? All right, we'll move that to the end of our agenda. Next item.
Item number 9, request of Knoxville Real Estate Management LLC for rezoning from PR Plan Residential up to 1 dwelling unit per acre to PR Plan Residential up to 2 dwelling units per acre, located at 11120 Hardin Valley Road, parcel ID 103-11008 in the 6th Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Your name and address, please. Okay, is it off again?
Javante Cotner, 1829 Ayers Rock, Knoxville, Tennessee.
Thank you, sir. And I do believe there's some opposition to this project. If you'd come forward, please. Hi.
Hi.
May I have your name and county residence for the record?
Greg Wanderman, 2239 Berrywood Drive, Knoxville.
All right. Our rules call for the applicant. We'll have 5 minutes to address the project, and then you will be able to offer rebuttal.
Thank
So
you.
if the applicant would like to speak to the project.
I don't have nothing to say. If you got any,
Sorry, I'm very sorry. No, I'm sorry. Before you speak, I need to get the recommendation read. Thank you, Commissioner Beeler, by planning. Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the PR Plan Residential Zone up to 2 dwelling units per acre because it's consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and surrounding development with the condition that the disturbed area be limited to the recommended disturbance budget in the slope analysis.
Thank you. All right, I apologize, sir. Now, please go ahead.
I just agree with the recommendation. I don't really have nothing to say. If you got any questions, I answer.
All right, is that all you wish to say at this point?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wanderman, if you step forward, please. You have 5 minutes to address us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, appreciate your time. Here representing several in the neighborhood who could not be here today, but we want to ask you to reconsider the rezoning here that's been recommended by staff and by MPC. This 2-acre parcel is surrounded by single-family homes that are all zoned at 1 dwelling unit per acre. And so we disagree strongly with the idea that it is consistent with the surrounding development. I want to state that we have no issue with development, certainly, and we understand that there is a housing crunch in Knoxville. And we would welcome appropriately zoned houses for this lot. We're talking about a 2-acre lot that runs up a hill that has a hillside protection, of course. And so this would be a significantly compacted, clustered area in between a culvert, a drainage culvert, where all of the water drains from the neighborhood adjacent to it, and a hillside. And so it would make a significant impact upon the houses that it abuts. This lot was originally intended for a single home. It is surrounded on all adjoining sides by existing homes that have 1 dwelling unit per acre zoning. I want to be clear about that. I don't think that anybody expects for someone to come along and put 2 dwelling unit per acre houses or townhomes directly in an existing 25-year-old plus neighborhood where the houses all existed. This neighborhood was entirely built out before the individual who purchased this lot purchased it, and it was 1 dwelling unit per acre at the time. I want to say that this property was purchased that way, and the neighbors who all purchased their houses all believed this to be 1 dwelling unit per acre property behind them when they bought their homes. In addition to that, the property wasn't surrounded by open land or by a farm that has been that the zoning has changed over time, but rather all of this has existed without change in a fully developed neighborhood. To approve this, we believe, would constitute spot rezoning of a single lot which has always been correctly zoned as 1 dwelling unit per acre due to the surrounding properties and the very challenging topography. We believe these units would be pressed in between the drainage culvert in the front and the hillside, causing a significant impact to the surrounding houses. The rezoning of this narrow parcel would likely result in accommodating 4 townhomes clustered on a small portion of the lot, perpendicular to the street, which is also inconsistent with the neighborhood that it's being plopped right in the middle of. While townhomes at this density were approved 1/2 mile down the road, and we understand, again, the need for housing in Hardin Valley, significant things were taken into account with that cannot be taken into account here. For example, peripheral setbacks. This lot is far too narrow for any of those kinds of accommodations that were made on the other property. There's no room for appropriate buffers between multifamily structuring and existing houses, and the narrow frontage in Hardin Valley Road would also allow for single access of the units. In other words, there's one driveway to access these units, and in order to put a driveway and dwelling units on this tiny little piece of property, you would have to clear cut an entire property, and it would adjoin our homes. I might add to that obviously, as we all know, the incredible busy Hardin Valley Road, that several other developments exit right onto where this property would have to access its location. And then finally, I recognize that you're under the certain constraints, but we would ask that if you are going to approve, despite all of these things, we respectfully request that conditions be added maintaining mature trees and adding evergreens at the property line, as well as a drainage study before any clearing is done and a development plan is approved at the very least. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments? Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sir, I'm just got a question. I'm confused. You said you disagree with the planning recommendation of two.
I agree.
You agree? Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I heard.
Agree.
So you originally applied for 1 unit an acre.
No.
Oh, okay. And then, okay, so the planning commission, okay. I just wanted to make sure. I thought I heard you say you disagree with it. I just wanted.
Are there any other questions or comments? Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to hear your take on this, because that might alleviate some of my questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Schoonmaker. I recognize looking at this that it's 2 acres, and that seems like a lot of room. I will tell you, though, everything that the opposition said about it is correct. It slants. There's very, very little even close to level, and then it goes straight up. There is setback that would be required from the road because of the retention pond. If you look at the map pulled up on the whole length to the right, I guess that would be the east, in the subdivision where I believe Mr. Waterman lives, there are actually 4 homes that stretch the full length of that lot, the full length of the 2-acre lot. So you can see how. Do you have any estimate how much of that 2-acre lot is actually buildable, sir?
I think like 1.2.
With the setbacks that you're required to have, including from the road?
I think it's somewhere around at least 1 acre. I know I spoke with the civil engineer, and he said whatever we had to do for the storm water, that all the water that's there, we will not bring no more water. It'll be the same water that's already there.
Well, in the end, I know we're only talking about the difference between 2 lots and 4, but I have to say, Hardin Valley Road is already full of homes and townhomes along that stretch. And there's going to be other significant parcels that will be coming up in the future that will be many, many, many new homes. I really do stand with the neighbors on this particular one, even though it's only difference of 2 houses, because it truly would be 4 little townhomes stuck in the middle of what we have very little of left in Hardin Valley, which is some spacing along our major corridor. So, and I will tell you that that's my heart speaking. So, having said that, I'd like to make the recommendation that we do not approve the recommendation of Planning Commission, and we keep this parcel at 1 per acre.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Hill, second by Oster. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Ward, Commissioner Ward.
Thank you, Chair. Would they have access to Hardin Valley Road? You'd make them come out there, correct? They couldn't get up that hill on the backside, correct?
Yeah, they would go to Hardin Valley Road.
I'm sorry. That's directed to Mr. Snowden. Sorry. They'd be accessing Hardin Valley Road, correct?
Yes, sir, they don't.
Okay.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Do they? Hang on, let me look.
I think they have to. That hill is,
Yeah.
is a monster hill on
Yeah,
the
there's-
backside of that thing. It's,
Yeah, it looks
I
like
know
it-
that neighborhood well.
There was a little sliver there, I thought he might could get to the
Yeah,
right of way, but
no,
he can't. Yeah, so his
wouldn't.
only public road access is Hardin Valley.
Yeah, I was trying to understand because I was confused because the lots all to the right are quarter acre lots, correct? The ones that, the lots that border this property are quarter acre lots, correct?
No, they are, no, that's half acre.
The ones to the east are half acre?
Isn't, Mr. Walderman, isn't that correct?
Because on here, it's showing that they're quarter acres.
What is the size of the lots that you're on?
Well, they're different. Some are one, some are quarter.
Okay, up in
Yeah.
that area that directly backs up to them.
Yeah, on the top of the hill, they're bigger. I'm saying at the
Yeah, they
bottom,
are.
to the right of them are,
There's
unless
a
I'm
cou-
reading this wrong. right
Yeah,
now.
Commissioner Ward, there's a couple of them down at the front that look like they're between 3/10 and 4/10 of an acre. So there's a couple down there that are less
Closer.
than half.
A little bit smaller.
Yeah, so that's because those are the only ones, because, I mean, this thing goes like vertical. Okay, thank you.
Is there any other discussion before we have the vote on this? All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor at 1 per acre. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is denied. You'll have to stand at the 1 per acre, sir. Thank you. Next item, please.
See, item number 10 has been deferred to August. So item number 11 is a request of Justin Harvey for rezoning from PR Plan Residential up to 5 dwelling units per acre to PR Plan Residential up to 12 dwelling units per acre. Property is located at 8813 Ball Camp Pike, parcel ID 104-06901 in the 6th Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? If you'd give your name and address, please, sir.
Yes, Justin Harvey, 1131 Anthem View Lane, Knoxville, 37922.
Thank you. Is there any opposition present to this item? I know there's been a few comments made online, but I see no opposition. Director Brooks, would you read the recommendation, please?
Certainly. Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve PR Plan Residential Zone up to 12 dwelling units per acre for the lot within the SMR Suburban Mixed Residential Place Type only because it is consistent with the comprehensive plan and changing conditions along the corridor.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments about this project?
I do.
Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Snowden, with the, are we doing road improvements in front of there right now?
We are. If you go out there right now, it's kind of a mess, just to be honest with you. We're raising the grade right through here quite a bit. So yeah, there's a lot of fill being placed here that hopefully, I was talking to Madam Chair Hill about it, what we hope to have done by the school starts in a couple of weeks is what the contractors told us.
In front of this property, then, would there be a median?
There is a median, so much like the Asheville Highway conversation, this gentleman's access will be restricted to right in, right out. But thankfully, once again, much like Asheville Highway, this is a wide median, so that median width allows for the allowance for U-turns up and downstream if as necessary.
Okay, and we're talking about 40-something units?
Approximately, yes, 43.
43 units? And no, just right in, right out? And how's that traffic flow going to go under those circumstances?
I mean, I think it would, we don't foresee that with these number of units that this would be a challenge necessarily. I mean, we would permit it and don't feel like it would present an issue that we would revise the access point.
Okay, and then everything around there is single-family residential, is that correct?
For the most part, I don't think there's no commercial in that area other than just, I think there's some across the street near the ball field.
Okay, but nothing that high density at 12 units an acre? There is some?
Well, not really.
Madam Chair, if I could say, I think it was about 2 years ago, we further up near the Grassy Creek development, right across from Amherst area, I think just to the north of it, I think we approved something similar. Do you remember that, Mr. Snowden? It was a couple of years ago. It was a condo development further up, closer to the new shopping plaza.
Did they build it?
This is quite a bit further down. This is
I mean, it's just the whole corridor, I mean, obviously is going to experience growth, but I think we had a big discussion about what would Shad Road capacity-wise look like, but I can't remember exactly the address. So.
And currently it's 5 dwelling units an acre?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Well, it falls to me, and you do recognize that you have a little over half an acre of that that's eliminated from the total density, sir? What is your plan for that property?
So the plan was to put towards the back of the property anywhere from 12 to 15 attached townhomes. And then closer towards the front, we were going to do a single apartment building that would have, you know, probably 30 units maybe. So we want to try to, I don't know if it's the right word, undisturb as much of the land as possible because it's a beautiful piece of property.
It is.
There's some beautiful trees on there that, I mean, they look like they go back to the Civil War. I mean, they're fabulous. And so we're going to preserve those in every way possible. And if we just asphalt the whole thing, and if we don't stack some apartments, the whole thing is going to be asphalt and concrete. And so we're trying to not do that by putting some townhomes in the back, and then up towards where the entrance is, putting, like I said, if we can stack some apartments 2, 3 high, that'd be all that there would be. I mean, the trees to the right, if you're standing at the street, I mean, there's two. The reason I bought the property, I walked on and I just stood and looked underneath these trees. And I know that may sound silly, but if you saw these trees, you would understand. They literally are, I mean, they look like something out of a Tom Hanks movie in Savannah, Georgia, the Forrest Gump or whatever. I mean, they're beautiful. So we have every intent of preserving those trees. Much of the rest of the property, there's not much that's that interesting, but the front right-hand corner, I mean, they're just park setting trees. I don't know how else to say it. But to the left, I think I've got plenty of room to build a single apartment building. And I say single, it'd be 12 with another 12 on top, and then potentially 6 walkouts below the 24 units, so that all of that would be in a 30-unit building. And then again, in the back, 12 to 15, just depending, I'm working with the surveyor to see what fits where, but probably in the back, 12 to 15 townhomes, row townhomes, something like that. So that is my intent, is to not go in there and just concrete and asphalt that whole place.
Commissioner Oster? I'm sorry, were you finished, Commissioner Schoonmaker?
I just have one more question.
Please do.
Thank you. And you may be able to answer it, or Mr. Snowden, but in the frontage of the property, it looks like it's offset. What is running in front of Ball Camp Pike there that restricts him from going all the way down to the road surface? Do you know what I'm talking about, Mr. Snowden?
I do. I'm familiar with it. There was, when we did our stream determinations many years ago, TDEC identified that there's a stream in that vicinity. So we had to buy that area and do some stream mitigation. I think we did a little relocation there. So we had to secure that property to ensure that that stream, our relocation of that stream got maintained in perpetuity.
Okay, so from the road surface to the property line, is that like 50 feet, 25 feet, 100 feet?
Probably wider than that. I mean, we bought 50 feet off center as our standard right of way, and in that situation, it's even wider. So it's probably more. It's more than 50 feet from center of the road, from center of existing road.
Okay, thank you. So that's just protected area?
Correct. It was for stream relocation.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Oster?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Snowden, will EPW be able to grant the median opening?
It wouldn't fall within the standards we would approve. We have, once again, to get into that spacing and whether or not it's urban and rural. So we would think that a median cut here might create more trouble for traffic than keeping the median there. I think if it, I can't remember the exact spacing there, but we would not, I mean, we'll certainly look at it and address it through the concept plan, but our initial impression would be that we wouldn't allow it.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Harvey, thank you for keeping the trees. Growing up out there, I appreciate not everything being concrete.
Is there any other questions before I? Director Brooks, I notice in our comprehensive plan that this is labeled suburban mixed residential.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, and when I'm looking at the land use mix in this, it says residential single family, townhome attached, and then secondary would be civic or commercial. But housing mix, duplex, multiplexes, and townhomes that have a scale of a single-family home. So I'm not hearing that even in the new plan that an apartment building fits. Am I misinterpreting this?
No, Commissioner, I don't think that you are. That's something that we would If this was to be approved, we would want to have some discussions with the applicant about what their plans look like in advance of submitting. So we would evaluate this as the development plan process. But, if you look further down, form attributes, building form, 1 to 3 stories, which is typically what we see in single-family neighborhoods currently. So yes, the idea is that these are, of course, they can be smaller lots, but it needs to be kept in the context of smaller scale and single-family homes. There are some images there to give some ideas.
I see them.
So there are small-scale multiplexes that would be appropriate.
So do I have your assurance that if we were to approve this at 12 per acre, that the apartment design even would be more compatible with a single or townhome area? Did you have a comment?
Sure, it would be, and from my plan on the construction for the apartment building would be when you see the front, it's 2 stories. It would be behind where there would be a walkout basement below so if you've got 12 units, another 12, and then in the back you would have 6, and those 6 would be walkout. That'd give you 30 units. And you wouldn't even, I suppose you could see them, but they're in the back.
I understand.
The front, some of these
Yeah, and
apartment
I haven't seen any of that you're talking about, so.
I understand. We own an apartment complex from the front, it's 2 stories, and then there's a walkout in the back. So when you're in the backyard, you see 3 stories, but when you drive by, you see a 2-story apartment building. A lot of the stuff they're building now, they're throwing up stuff 3 and 4 stories high, and it wouldn't look like that from the front. Now, if you want to come on the property and look at the back, I suppose you'd see it, but from the front, it's going to look like a 2-story apartment building. And the only other case I'll make is I can do all townhomes. I can fill it up with all townhomes and not have any apartments. I can do that just fine. And if I get reduced, that's fine too. But the footprint, you're going to have a lot more concrete and asphalt because I've got to dig more footers. If I'm able to do 12 with another 12 on top, then they're all under the same footers. But if I have to spread them out more, then and that's why I love that property, because I've got a lot of room around these trees. But if I'm limited on units, those trees are in the way because I need to justify the cost of this property. And so instead of doing some in the back and some over here, it's going to look like a big U shape where you've just got it'll look like all townhomes because there'll be all townhomes, but it's going to be a big giant thing of asphalt with townhomes that surround it. And we've all seen those and they look fine. But it's just a lot of concrete and asphalt. And I'd put it in writing. If you required me to keep the trees, I'd keep them. And there's no debate on that. I'd love to keep these big trees up front. But again, if I'm stuck just with the single families, there's just not as much. You understand what I'm saying.
I do understand, and that really is exactly what we are trying to do. It's just at this point, and I'm not saying up or down, but at this point, Director Brooks, we then have to put a lot of faith in your, I guess, concept that what you accept after the fact. So I do hear you saying that your intention is to stick with these definitions that we have been given for our future land use.
And I've spoke with my surveyor today. It's Rusty at Land Development Solutions, and he literally is working on that building and those townhomes in the back. And I told him he can't cut my trees down. That was literally a conversation I had today. I'll provide the site plan as soon as it's prepared. He's working on it now, and if we did that, we'd be done. I have no desire to knock. If I wanted to just buy a piece of land that didn't have, I can't recreate 100-year-old trees.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying,
I can't do
and I
that.
appreciate it.
I can do blocks, I can do bricks and asphalt, but I can't make a tree that looks like it's from the Civil War.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take those down in any way.
I got you.
And the only way to do that is an apartment building.
Okay, Director Brooks, what I was saying, this is, in fact, your intention moving. I know it's your intention. I'm just trusting that you will do it.
Yes, and we would encourage you to the applicant to reach out in advance, even before you submit, if you have some questions. It's a new plan, and we'd be happy to meet with the applicant in advance of actually submitting to the Planning Commission for additional review.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Commissioner Ward?
Thank you, Chair. I think we're having two different conversations here, but for clarification reasons, because it's PR, apartment buildings are not allowed in PR, correct? Townhomes are, duplex, triplex, quads, I think are, but an actual apartment building is not. And there's a height restriction as well.
Yes, there is a height restriction. I wouldn't say that apartments are not
Yeah,
permitted.
that's what the gray area that we're discussing now is, correct? So help me out and give me a better definition of what PR currently you're able to do within the PR zone and what the height restriction is for it.
I'm going to pull it up here. So the following uses are permitted. So houses, attached houses, duplexes, multi-dwelling structures, and developments are allowed. Accessory uses, and then we're not talking about commercial in this instance, but you can do commercial if the property is large enough. And then if you go down to area regulations, it talks about setbacks and peripheral boundaries.
What's the height restriction?
Height restriction,
I want to say it's like 30 or something.
35, I
Yeah.
believe.
Okay.
But let me, I'll double check here. Yes. Hold on a second. Sorry, I can't scroll. It doesn't limit it by, it says houses and duplexes shall not exceed 3 stories. So that does align with the place type that it's currently assigned.
Okay.
Commissioner, are you finished, Commissioner? Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Brooks, the site is 4 acres, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And currently, he could build 20 homes on there right now?
Yes, with his.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yes, with his 5 dwellings per acre.
Okay, so 20 homes, and if we go to 12 units an acre, he could build 48 homes, right? If it's approved tonight, correct?
No, not that many. I think approximately 43 for the entire lot.
Because there's a
But if
little
he's-
piece back there that's
There's a piece that's not
disqualified.
part of this. That's correct.
Okay, so it's not really 44 total acres then?
Yes, there's a portion of it that has been excluded from this.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And I guess my only comment is, I think Mr. Harvey's intentions are great. The only problem that we have on this body is if we approve this at 12 dwelling units an acre, tomorrow somebody can approach him and clear cut that land and build whatever they want to do, and there's no guarantees, and that's the problem. When we do a rezoning, there's statements are made that are not tied to the land. And so, something to think.
This is very near Ball Camp School too. And I do have a little bit of problem with traffic's already a nightmare down there at Ball Camp in Middlebrook. I will regret, Mr. Harvey, that you and I did not personally speak about this. Quite honestly, when I looked at it, I wasn't at all bought in on it. Did I hear you say that you already have a site plan and do you have a development plan, a concept plan?
The engineer is working on that now. We're trying to meet the deadline, which is in 2 weeks, to submit the site plan.
Deadline for who?
Is that not, I mean,
What was,
The deadline that is in 2 weeks to get to the September meeting for the site plan. I don't know what that's called. I just know that I've got to have the site plan submitted by,
yes, I believe you are correct. I have to look.
believe it's
Yeah,
2
it's
weeks
2
from
weeks,
today.
2 weeks from today.
yes. I've got to get the site, so my engineers are working on getting the site plan prepared. And if I may make one comment about the traffic, you are 100% correct, but a large portion of that is because of all of the construction. I mean, they're putting in the 2 lanes on either side and then the emergency lanes and then, and that, when you drive through there, they're not finished in front of the school and the congestion is just, I mean, it's terrible in front of the school.
Oh, I know.
But once that road is fully completed and there's no more trucks in the way and all that, I mean, it's a 4 or 5 lane highway through there. And I think the construction will fix the traffic. I think that's why they're doing the extension, is for that very reason. And hopefully that's short-lived. And I'm Mr. Shoemaker, just if I could address selling it, you're right, I could sell it. And again, it's just us talking because there's nothing in writing. I have no intention of selling this property. I mean, I could get hit by a bus and my wife could sell it. Outside of that, I want to develop this property. I don't have any desire to flip it, to sell it. I've bought other properties in the past and I've been offered double what I paid to flip out of it, and I still own them. I'm not in the flipping business. I don't intend to, and I know the guarantee is just my word, and I understand that. But I have absolutely no intention of flipping this property. It's just, it's such a great location. It's a great, I mean, ball camp, the park's across the street, the school's right down the street. There's an intersection that gets you to Pellissippi Interstate very quickly. It's just a great, great location.
Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just bring, I guess, a little context to this. I do think your word matters, quite frankly, because I think that matters to us. And I think that as a body, we're constantly asking, almost demanding good development, smart development, good developers, people that want to preserve the land, and density on corridors. We have put millions of dollars into Shad Road, and we've had this discussion before, and we're going to have it again. We built it for density, and if you don't want more sprawl in the outer parts of the county, this is an example of how we should support people who want to put density on corridors next to schools, next to shopping, on major infrastructure so that it doesn't continue to sprawl. And I just feel like, those things should take priority. That's what we've asked for. And I know we'll have this discussion for many, many years, but I think this is a great opportunity to show that we're getting good developers, smart developers, people that are conserving the land and focusing in the right areas. So I'm happy to support it, sir.
Are there any other comments? Commissioner Lee? Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to ask our law director a question. Being an attorney, legal issues do matter to me, and I appreciate your word. I just wanted to know, as a legal issue, if he deviates from this project, what is the county's recourse?
Well, first of all, this is a request for PR, right? So anything he does will have to go through Planning Commission. It'll have to be approved as part of the development plan and the concept plan. If he deviates from it, litigation could ensue based on the representations he made to this body. But, the truth is, and one of the reasons why it's maybe not the best idea to talk about what's planned on a property is because, as Commissioner Schoonmaker has said, once you rezone it, it can be used for any purpose that you've rezoned it for. That's now legal use. And so really, when we consider the rezonings, we need to be considering, in my humble opinion, is this an appropriate zoning for this area, regardless of what use the person who's seeking to rezone it to says he has for it. So right now, do you have a way to claw it back? I mean, if you found out before next month that everything that was told to you was not true, you could potentially move to reconsider your vote. But much past that, there isn't much to do. And at least under our rules as they stand currently. I've had another piece of property raised, a commissioner raised a question with me about another piece of property, but it was rezoned back in December. And if we were to try to downzone it now, undoubtedly litigation would ensue, and I don't know if we'd win that case or not. It's hard to tell. But when you focus on the zone itself, and is this zone appropriate in this area, and focus less on what does the person seeking the rezoning intend to do with it, you'll probably come up with decisions that will be more in line with planning principles rather than we're going more and more sort of an ad hoc, well, we'll give you this zone if this is what you're going to do with it kind of thing. And
Which we can't
so the answer is not a lot. You know, we do have the misrepresenting, you know, yourself in front of the commission. I suppose you could go after that. But really, I think the best thing is just to look at the property, determine, is this an appropriate zone for this property, regardless of what we're being told the plan is. Is it appropriate for this area? And then that's a decision that you won't get caught up in these questions. Well, he's telling us, and nobody's casting aspersions on you, it's a question that goes, but he's telling us he's going to do X, Y, and Z, so I'm going to vote for it based on that. Well, if you just look at the appropriateness of the zoning for the community, for the property itself, regardless of what anybody's telling you, then you're not going to have that problem as much. So I think the problem arises that we're placing too much emphasis on what the applicant is telling us they want to do with the property. When the fact is, again, as Commissioner Schoonmaker has said, once you rezone it, anything could be done with the property. That, you know, so that's just how it is. That's why it's a little dangerous to be inquiring too deeply into what the intended use is.
Thank you, Mr. Law Director. Sir, I'd like hearing, if I could respond.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, I appreciate your coming in here and talking to us. I'm just having a issue with that of being non-favorable to this project. Thank you, Your Honor.
May I say something?
Certainly.
Or do something? It's been pointed out at the beginning of the meeting, we failed to swear all the witnesses in. We missed that step. So at least for the foregoing, if I could have everybody who's currently addressing and planning to address this commission, stand and raise your right hand on any matter that remains on the agenda. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. That's good. That fixes that.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Jay, and then I'll make a motion.
Yeah, just a really quick follow-up. I'm glad Director Moyers pointed out the sort of overall concept and the strategy of where we are, of thinking about it. If we care about advanced Knox, which we just spent 2 years on and millions of dollars, and we all sat here and said, this is our vision, this fits. If we want to deny this, then we might as well have thrown away advanced Knox for the last 2 years. Like this is kind of a perfect example of, we said, this is exactly what we want. Let's just follow the plan. Let's execute what we've done as a body and say, great, move forward and find a vision. So I just think this ties so directly to what we just all endorsed. I can't say why we wouldn't approve it and say good luck. But.
Thank you. And on that note, you are correct, Commissioner Jay. You are correct about that. And And I'm putting a great deal of faith also, which I have no reason not to from this point, or really ever, but certainly from this point forward, in Director Brooks and our planning folks, that they will look hard at what our intention is here and see to it that our developers adhere. So I'm prepared to go ahead and make a motion that we approve PR up to 12 per acre, recognizing that you have the 0.64 acre in the back, that it is not included in that, coming to a total of no more than 43 units for the plan. Motion by Hill, second by Oster. Is there any further discussion in this? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Your motion carries. I'm going to come see you.
Come see me. We'll take a picture by the trees.
I apologize.
Thank you all.
You bet. Schoonmaker and Lee were no, so it is 8 to 2. Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you. All right. Next agenda item, please.
Item number 12, request of Thunder Mountain Properties for rezoning from RA Low Density Residential and A Agricultural to PR Plan Residential up to 3 dwelling units per acre. Properties located at 8744 Chapman Highway, parcel ID 138104, part of, in the 9th Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Present.
If you'd please introduce yourself.
Yes. Taylor Forrester, 1111 North Shore Drive, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37919, here on behalf of the applicant property owner.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to this? Thank you. And Ms. Close, I believe you also signed up to speak regarding this. If you would come forward also, please, and identify yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dawn Close. I live on Sevierville Pike, and I'm here to represent Sandra LLC. They couldn't be here tonight. And also
Don't
the
start.
Dry Hollow community, as well as Save Bauer Field.
Thank you. Thank you. If you'd just have a seat, please.
Yes.
Director Brooks, what is the recommendation for this property?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the PR Plan Residential Zone up to 3 dwellings per acre because it's consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and surrounding development, subject to the 2 conditions noted in the staff recommendation.
Thank you. Our rules require that the applicant will have 5 minutes to speak, and then opposition will also have 5 minutes. So, Mr. Taylor, the floor is yours. Mr. Forrester. Mr. Forrester Taylor. Taylor Forrester. Sorry, you may speak.
Either one's fine. Again, here on behalf of the applicant property owner, Thunder Mountain Properties, requesting County Commission to rezone the property to plan residential up to 3 dwelling units per acre, as recommended by Planning Commission. This property is located within the planned growth area of under the growth policy plan. The current new land use designation for the property is traditional neighborhood, and then a portion of it does have a land use of town center mixed use. The traditional neighborhood, like I said, is the majority of the property. These areas feature a mix of housing units ranging from single family to townhomes and some small multifamily. The town center is more appropriate for a larger site, for large and compact walkable developments, including commercial and residential. They have a similar housing mix of multifamily, attached residential, such as duplex, multiplexes, and townhomes. This property, prior to the adoption of the new comprehensive land use plan, was designated as LDR, low density residential, under the sector plan. And as you all recall, at that time, for planned residential zoning that would allow up to 5 dwelling units per acre. We recognize that this property, although it is a large size tract, there are some site constraints with hillside and the kind of the access to the property from the public right of way. These conditions will obviously impact the overall resulting development that'll come through and be recognized or realized once engineering work begins and we submit for development plan approval. Again, at this time, it's difficult to entirely say what's appropriate here, what makes sense to be developed here when you factor in, as I said, the hillside, the access, and in applying the other plans applicable in this area. So in trying to determine, what is the overall potential resulting density, I'm not talking about necessarily what could you possibly build here. I'm talking about what actually makes sense to build here. And when you consider the available housing options of townhouses, single family, and some smaller scale multifamily, it'd be short-sighted to limit the density to less than 3. Coming just with an arbitrary, speculative type analysis here at the rezoning phase. Again, that's something that's going to require detailed engineering, design, meeting with planning staff, Knox County Engineering to work through all those. Obviously, with Hillside, we support the conditions that staff recommended, that Planning Commission imposed on the rezoning. But as you're all aware, with Hillside, with development, it easily or commonly becomes cost prohibitive to develop in those areas. That is the benefit of the planned residential zoning designation, is the clustering to provide that optional method of land development. Again, we ask that you adopt the Planning Commission recommendation of planned residential up to 3 dwelling units per acre, subject to the 2 conditions that were imposed thereon. Thank you.
Thank you. Opposition now has 5 minutes to speak.
Hi again. So the planning staff recommended 2 per acre. It's, the hillside. We're pretty comfortable with that. We're not really comfortable with 3 per acre. They're not going to build on the whole hill. They're going to cluster. And in our community, again, we're on the edge of the county. And we're going to start doing this kind of density. Just doesn't make a lot of sense to us. We're also concerned with Chapman Highway. We don't really feel like a turn lane is going to manage. If they do 3 per acre, that's probably 3,000 trips a day onto Chapman Highway. And you're going to cross over that highway. There's no light there. There's no anything there. This is really a dangerous situation. And the turn lane is just a bandage on, what the issue is here with this kind of density. We're very respectful of the owners of the property, but, we're concerned with how that's going to look up there on that hillside also. This is a very rural area. We also, as a community, don't feel like we're being heard. We're not consulted. There's, zero outreach from the developer to the community. We don't, it's a surprise to us that they're donating land. They're proposing moving the ball field. We kind of want to look at all of it together. So we really feel like we should slow this process down a little bit, give the community a little bit more room in here to negotiate with the developers, do a few more studies. We're looking to hire a vehicular engineer to see what the impact is, not just of this project, but of all 8 projects that have recently actually been built, are in the process, or have been approved. You're looking at probably around 1,100 homes with just a new little turn lane. Doesn't really seem like it's sufficient. We have real genuine concerns about the land that was donated. Again, we're grateful for the land, but there's been no assurances given to the community that an actual ball field can be built there. And they're also moving this ball field from an area where the noise pollution doesn't really matter, it's on the highway, into the middle of our community. The, noise from the ball field. I mean, there's some things to consider here. These are impacting people's lives. And so we want to just kind of slow the process down, do a few more things. I think hiring an outside engineer to see if we actually can build that ball field in this very swampy area. And there's also, Legacy Parks is involved with this project, but they're not raising funds, and there's no money given to the ballpark over the next 5 years in the county's budget. We don't want to give zoning, grant zoning, turning things into commercial property without the new ballpark having some certainty that it's actually going to be built. These are all issues together. We're taking a little tiny slice of the pie and looking at them. We want to look at the big picture. We want to have our voices heard. We are actually pretty smart. We come up with really good solutions. It was actually our idea to move the ballpark over there a couple of years ago. So we're not a no to things. We've also have told Legacy, we thought they were going to be kind of in charge of developing it. We're glad to lend our expertise. We're landscapers, siting things, having it be beautiful. We're not a no. We really are not. A lot of people say that, but we really mean it. But we're not involved in this process at all. And there seems to be a hostility from our own county commissioner, but we don't feel represented by you. You're clearly advocating for these developers and not advocating for us. We're your voters. Kim isn't here tonight, to vote for us. We don't want this vote to happen tonight. So we're respectfully asking for a delay to look at more of these things, the traffic issues, all of it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Were you going to speak?
I was going to defer my time to Mr. Campbell.
Oh, all right.
So I think I had 1:30, right? So let me try to get through that. Robert Campbell, 7523 Taggart Lane. And I appreciate some of the stuff that Ms. Close said. We have been in meetings. I've actually been in one or two with her personally. One of the things that we're seeking to do is we agree. We need to do a master plan for this area. We've got a ball field. We've got a park. We've got some acreage. We've got some potential commercial property. We've got everything you need on Chapman Highway at an intersection with Sevierville Pike that will allow us to develop this with some walkability and some really neat things to do. However, we need some certainty in what we're looking at. Are we looking at 5 units? Are we looking at 1,000 units? We don't know 100%. So we do want to do a master plan, and that master plan process and that planning process is part of what we come back to the Planning Commission folks, that we start answering stuff like traffic and where are our buffers and what makes most sense for access and all those kind of questions. But this is a legitimately really nice spot on Chapman Highway to connect several pieces of property with park property, new park property, to make something that's really special for that community. But again, we have to have certainty. Am I looking at this number, this number, or this number? And it's hard to come up with a master plan if you're trying to put all that together and come up with 14 different master plans. So we would ask that's why we're wanting to move forward, is to get as much certainty as we can as quick as possible so we can approach the community with that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we did meet last week. I'm sorry. Yep.
Okay. All right. For clarification, before we start discussion, Director Brooks, there's been several different things kind of mentioned as the opposition was speaking about this property. This property that we're addressing at this point in time has nothing to do with the ball field. Is that correct?
That is correct. That portion of the property was considered during the planning commission meeting last week.
All right, thank you. I appreciate your comments, Ms. Close and Mr. Forrester and Mr. Campbell on the idea of looking at a master plan. I think that's wonderful. And in the big picture, we need to look at that too. But right now, we're just able to make a decision on this immediate piece of property that's right here in front of us. So having just said that for clarification, is there any discussion on this property? Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Forrester?
Yes, sir.
Is any of this 103 acres part of what we took action on several months ago, where for the same applicant?
No, sir, that was on the, and I'm probably messing up the direction here, south of Chapman,
Okay.
across Chapman from here.
Okay,
And
so,
further.
okay, so we've never discussed this 103 acres previously?
Have
Okay,
not.
just wanted to clarify that. And then what will the access be?
I believe that goes back to the development plan considerations.
Yeah, our goal would be to come off of Chapman Highway for a majority of it. We do have Evans on one side, and there would have to be road improvements if we go that route. Evans connects to Sevierville Pike. But our hope here is again, we can put all that together and make that access off of Chapman Highway kind of a universal access for a lot of this.
Okay. And who would be responsible for the road improvements to Evans Road?
As always, it's the developer that we have. I mean, everyone I've been involved with, the developers had to come up with paying for whatever those improvements are, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think that was it.
All right. I see your light, Commissioner Daly. Are there any other immediate comments before we turn the floor over?
Commissioner Lundy.
I apologize, Commissioner Lundy. You weren't showing up. Commissioner Lundy?
Yes, Taylor, what about, has anyone talked to the people of Sandra LLC with regards to this property?
I received the letter, a copy of the letter. I've not had anybody reach out. Have you had anybody reach out? Just the letter?
Yeah, I know what I heard what Ms. Close is saying as far as the neighborhood has not had a meeting. But I want to clarify that I think I talked to Mike today from Sandra LLC. He said he has not had a meeting, and he was under impression that this was not going to come up to August. So that's why he's not here to represent himself. But also in his letter, he asked that no improvement shall encroach within 500 feet of the property of 8710 Chapman Highway. So I don't know how you all feel about that.
I mean, I'd say 500 feet is significant. You know, when you consider how the property is laid out there. So my client, one of the members of Thunder Mountain, his mother actually owns the property in front of the Sandra LLC. But how that property wraps around there, you know, again, these are things that once you have a development plan studied and design laid out, it is a lot easier to have those discussions because you know what you're working with in the sense of, okay, here's where the portion of the housing will be. Area is not going to be disturbed. I suspect this property kind of gets laid out in different facets like that. But you know, as a 500-foot buffer at this time, it just seems premature. And I'm not saying it's not possible, but I would say on some of the portion up front. As it ties towards Chapman, around that property, I think that's pretty flat land, and this would be a residential use. So I think 500, just at this time, would be something hard to agree to, just at the limiting factor of it.
Well, I hate they're not here and they haven't been spoken to, but after talking to them, I think there's room for negotiation.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that you all will contact, they have an attorney too.
I saw from
Yes.
Nashville. I can definitely reach out to him and connect.
Yeah, I just want to make
as this-
sure that that's important because they are a small minority woman-owned business. So we want to make sure we keep them lifted up as development goes on, just to make sure everybody has the opportunity to win. I appreciate you.
I'll definitely connect with him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Oster?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Forrester, what, at this time, are you guys prepared for your boundary, your landscape buffer?
You know, again,
I know it's hard because you got to do your
with the
development.
rezoning and not typically, considering those without having engineering involved as far as the design of a development plan, I would say on the back boundary line, I guess, of that Sandra LLC property, it's pretty significant slope back there. And I think as long as it's, along that back there, I think 100 feet of a buffer, like I said, and have that determined on the development plan. Like I said, it is very steep, significant hillside on the rear of their property where our property adjoins. But, there is kind of a straight line across there that, at least along that boundary there.
Okay, because our typical, Director Brooks, our typical for residential is around 35 foot. I mean, we can condition it higher, but that's about standard. Is that correct?
We have 3 different landscape screening guidelines. We have the type A, which is 15 feet in width, and then type B, 12 feet in width. So typically that would be a little large, so 30 feet.
Okay, okay, so we're getting a little bit better than what we would be getting typically with them offering 100 foot. Thank you, Mr. Forrester. I know that this is a huge project for this community, and it's always scary when that kind of stuff happens in a community that it's kind of been off by itself for a long time, and so I know that that's emotional for sure. But it is hard for the developers to know what they can do and what they can't do, and then start working with the constituents until they have their development plan so they know what their number is. And so that's always frustrating, I think, for the constituents. And so it kind of puts us in that situation of we know we got to give them something so they can get going. And then, and there have been meetings, Mr. Forrester, with the community. And so obviously I'm a huge community meeting person. So once you guys get your development plan, if you'll just work on making sure you get back with the community and have another meeting, I would appreciate that.
Ms. Close, are you stating, did I hear you state that there's been no meeting? All right.
Well, you can answer that, can't you? Do you know if there's been a meeting?
All right. One more statement before I turn this over, if I may, Commissioner Daly. Oh, Commissioner Schoonmaker. I apologize, y'all.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If you don't mind, I'd just like to take a moment of personal privilege. And that is that as county commissioners, we all know we have a very difficult job when it comes to zonings. And we're never going to make the public and the development community happy 100% of the time. And I just wanted to say that I've known Commissioner Daly now for 8 years serving on this body. And his character is unquestionable. And I've also had the opportunity to serve with him on the Board of Zoning Appeals for 6 years prior to that. So he does an outstanding job of representing the folks in the 9th District. And just because you disagree with him on a zoning issue doesn't mean that you didn't have representation, because that man does it. And that's one of the reasons that he received an award for being the outstanding county commissioner in East Tennessee recently. So I just want to take that opportunity for personal privilege. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. I have a question for probably Mr. Campbell. I know that one of the reasons that the staff recommended 2 per acre was because the slope analysis only supports the 2 per acre. As their engineer, can you speak to that?
Yeah, again, the staff's analysis is done based on average slopes and the acreage that comes in there. And so one of the things that we always like to do from the development side is we prefer to have just a little bit more density. I'm not sure that we can get to 3, okay? I mean, that's just, but I would hate to get to 2.5 or 2.4 and not be able to get there either. And again, understand until we have good surveys of the property, we don't 100% know where those areas can be. So we may have a 50-foot strip or 100-foot more of this property that we can develop that we don't know now. We've not, again, done field surveys. We don't have good technical data on it. Again, the planning staff does a great job with GIS data that is in a lot of cases, accurate, but it's not the most accurate. So we don't want to take ourselves from a situation where we could get a few more or we could make things a little bit better and we're limiting ourselves with this number. When we come up with a development plan, the number is going to be the number, right? I mean, it's how much the land will take and how much economically we can develop, how we can tie all that together. So probably a long-winded answer to your question, but we would prefer that we have a little bit more to work with than have to try to keep coming back to the table, asking for that 10 or 15 or whatever that number is from as we go through here.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner, are you all right to continue to defer?
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to make a statement in agreement with Commissioner Schoonmaker. I appreciate the Thunder Mountain people coming out here, but I will say I haven't always agreed with Commissioner Daley, but I will say he does do his homework and he does represent his community. So it is tough sitting up here because we're not going to make everybody happy. I do care about what the community thinks, and I think every commissioner up here, Mr. Daley doesn't have much longer to be on this, but I will vouch for him and say I know he's done his homework. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Daley?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the kind words from my fellow commissioners. This has been a tough one. This all started over 3 years ago on the first one, and I first want to thank Thunder Mountain, Chris Arnold, who's the grandson of Mr. Ben Bowers. It's not about Mr. Arnold. It's about the family legacy and the generations of children getting to play sports in the future. But tonight we're talking only about one thing, and that's rezoning, possible rezoning of this land. Next month will be another rezoning, so we'll talk about that next month. But tonight is just about this 103 acres. I agree with I've spoken with Mr. Campbell and Taylor and the rest. There has to be a major plan here. They own the land across the road, Chapman City. They own the land between Highland View and Simpson Road and the land across the street. Well, part of this master plan is they own both sides of Highland View. We can, the traffic study, and I think I've spoken to Mr. Snowden about it, Highland View can be rerouted to the top of the hill, intersect with Evans Road, and we can put a red light there on top of the hill. We don't need right now, we don't need a red light at Highland View because you're topping a hill and having to stop at a red light. This could be part of the master plan. We've got to get a master plan together. It was mentioned something about the capital project. This was started 3 years ago. I was taken on top of the hill by Mr. Arnold, and he asked me at that point in time if the county would be interested in a donation. I thought it was 115 acres. It turned out to be 107. probably the biggest land donation in Knox County, that I know of anyway, and you could knock me over with a feather. Well, at that time, that was, if y'all remember back, it was rezoning of the land. At that time, it was the pristine farmland, and it is beautiful land, but it wasn't swampland at that time. Now, since we've got 20 acres, and that 20 acres, that is beautiful land, it's going to be a beautiful park, artificial fields, no more rainouts. We're going to have football, soccer, pickleball, you name it, we're going to have it on this new Bauer Sports Complex or park. It's going to be built. Mayor Jacobs assured that it would be, and I believe Mayor Jacobs' word. The letter that Commissioner Lundy just stated, Mr. Campbell, if I'm not mistaken, that's 12 acres. 6 acres of it belongs to not Thunder Mountain. The 6 acres that butts the lady's property belongs to a different individual. Is that not correct? So this person is asking for a 500-foot buffer on somebody's property that's not even owned by Thunder Mountain. Thunder Mountain does not own that 6 acres. They own the property, the lady's property on top of the hill, 6 acres that's not owned by Thunder Mountain. Then you got Thunder Mountain property. So we cannot put a restriction on somebody else's property that's not part of Thunder Mountain's property. But we will, I guarantee you, they will meet with the property owner and try to do the buffers. Yes, there's been meetings. Taylor, how many meetings have you attended with Commissioner Frazier, and Mr. Campbell? And
Mr. Campbell's been to more than I have. I've been to one where Commissioner Frazier did ask to meet with us. I guess that was towards the end of last year, but I know Mr. Campbell and the members of Thunder Mountain Property, Chris Arnold, Mike Malakote, met with Commissioner Frazier. I know Ms. Close. I don't know, Jim, were you, okay, last week, or the end of or the week before. It's either last week or the week before, and had a lengthy meeting about, not only this project, the other projects or rezonings in effect as well. But there have been several meetings, because like you said, this thing started 3 years ago. And I know there's been countless meetings there, or meetings at Bauer Field with commissioners and community residents throughout this process.
Thank you, Mr. Forster. Commissioner Oster, yes, there's been neighborhood meetings, and there will be more neighborhood meetings, because this is going to be, the master plan will have to have the input of the community. The master plan for the sports park will be community driven. It has to be. There's no other way that it will work. As Mr. Campbell had just said previously, that 3 per acre, it doesn't matter. We could approve 5 per acre tonight, but it's the slope is what's going to matter. Even if we would approve 5, if the slope analysis comes back and says you cannot disturb this part of the mountain, you can't disturb it. That number is going to be what that number is. Mr. Campbell and Mr. Forster are asking for 3 per acre because they don't know. It may be 2.1, it may be 2.4. They don't know that until all that study has got together. So that's why they're asking for 3. I doubt seriously that any development that I know of in the last 8 years that we have approved for, say, up to 5, they've ever maxed out up to 5. It's always usually a little lower, or they just don't max out. That's just the way the things work. And I don't see at 3 with the slope, it's not going to be at 3. There's just no way it's going to be at 3. I did talk to Mr. Arnold and Mr. Malakote. They want to tie in trails from, say, down Evans Road, around White School Road, down Sevierville Pike, to what they own. They want to tie in trails that will lead to the new ballpark, to the new complex and everything. I will say this about Mr. Arnold. He is the grandson of Mr. Ben Bowers. And he wants to see as much as his property saved as possible. He don't want to go in and cut trees. He don't want to go tear everything down. He wants to put in trails. He wants to put in amenities that will help the community. And there's nothing wrong with that. I can't see anything wrong with Advanced Knox being the way Advanced Knox, we spent, like Commissioner Jay said, 2 years and $1 million, and this fits Advanced Knox perfectly. It's in the growth area. It's on Chapman Highway that's got 38,000 traffic per day, and it can handle up to 45 to 46,000. If I'm really off that, Mr. Snowden, you tell me, but I'm pretty well close to knowing what it is. It's Chapman Highway can handle the traffic. We're going to get, I will push for a red light at Highland View in the master plan. It needs to be there, but it needs to be on top of the hill, not down near the field. So I know I don't make many people happy, but I can promise you this, that whatever is decided, it's best for the community. It's best for the property owners, it's best for the community, it's best for everyone. And it's in the right place. It is on the growth area where Advanced Knox says, this is where you need multi-use. This is where you need commercial. This is where you need the mixed from commercial to medium residential to high residential. This is what it's all about. This is where it needs. It doesn't need to be on Tipton Station Road, commercial in the middle of a neighborhood. It doesn't need to, it needs to be on Chapman Highway. So my motion is going to be to recommend approval per planning recommendation, and that includes the 2 conditions that are on there. That, and especially the most important one, is the slope. They cannot exceed the slope analysis, period.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion on the floor by Daley, a second by Schoonmaker, to follow the Planning Commission recommendation and conditions. So, and the 2 conditions already noted. Is there any more discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item.
Item number 13 is a request of Benjamin C. Mullins for rezoning from A agricultural to PR Plan residential, up to 5 dwelling units per acre. The property is located at 2814 Tipton Station Road, parcel ID 148049, part of, in the 9th Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Ben Mullins, 550 West Main Street, here for the applicant.
Thank you. Is there any opposition? Seeing no opposition, Director Brooks, would you read the recommendation?
Certainly. Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the PR Plan Residential Zone with up to 4 dwelling units per acre.
Thank you. Mr. Mullins, would you like to speak to the project?
Yeah, briefly, this property, the total property is 155.71 acres. The rezoning request, though, is only for about 86 acres, which is north of Stock Creek. That part of the property north of Stock Creek is in the planned growth area. It was in the planned growth area during the old growth policy plan that was adopted in 2021, and it remains in the planned growth area now. The back 70 acres, which is south of Stock Creek, has significant hillside. We're going to be placing that into a conservation easement and looking to develop the front portion. It's relatively flat, although there are multiple streams and potential karst issues that we'll need to deal with. But we're asking for planned residential, which is partially related in the rural conservation land use map, which is what has been applied to it, because that allows us to cluster the development. They'll have to be, 50% of the development will still have to remain kind of open under that rural conservation. It has access to Tipton Station. We have had a traffic impact analysis done. We know we're going to have to redo the intersection between Tipton Station Road and the West Martin Mill Pike that just went right up, and that's going to have to be realigned or even potentially a roundabout. And we know we're going to have to work, when we move forward with the development plan, with Director Snowden and his group as to what exactly needs to be done there, but that intersection does need to be changed. Tipton Station, though, there has been a recent traffic impact analysis done by the county, I believe at Commissioner Daley's request, and it does have capacity with its existing width for the traffic that we will be placing on the road with this development. The zoning surrounding this area, there's an adjacent RA zoning right next to this property, which allows consideration for densities up to 4.35 dwelling units an acre as 10,000 square foot minimum lot sizes. It's about 1,700 feet from property that has a density of 5 dwelling units an acre. It wasn't developed out at 5 dwelling units an acre, but it's the conversation we had just a few minutes ago. You ask for the density, then you can kind of decide what you really need, once you get the engineering in place. Zoning has progressively been moving in this area kind of west. It started around Bonnie Kate Elementary and South Doyle. You'd expect the development to be concentrated there, but it is moving in this direction, and which is what you would expect, because this is an area that is growing. It's an area that we've identified as planned growth with the advanced Knox. This area is somewhere where, with these traffic improvements that we're able to participate in, will accommodate this type of density and development. We're willing to, again, it's a rural conservation place type, which does require us to cluster our development and preserve open space in the development itself. And we're willing to, there's some residential property around there, and to kind of keep peripheral boundary around that, and kind of, have a non-disturbance zone, or if we do have to disturb it because of the grading, replant that, and so we can kind of keep a buffer around the peripheral of the property, which in the planned residential zone, there's a 35-foot peripheral, no build. You can reduce that to 15 if it's adjacent to residential, so we're thinking a 15-foot buffer would be appropriate for something like that. But, we know we need the housing. We know we just, it's been said many times, we spent 2 years and $1 million with Advanced Knox. And Advanced Knox, the goals were to limit sprawl and to put development in areas where it can handle it. And this is such an area based upon the growth policy plan and based upon, the infrastructure that's in place with the traffic improvements that we'll have to implement at the development plan. So we would ask that you approve this per Planning Commission's recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any comments before I turn this over to Commissioner Daley?
Let me go ahead and comment. Maybe they'll have some questions after that.
All right.
I won't make a motion until.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair, for letting me have that privilege. Mr. Mullins had sent you all an email. Everybody got that email last week about agreeing to the intersection of Martin Mill and Tipton Station. You should have had that last week. If not, we'll send it again. Also, there was some more information from, I don't know if I sent it or not. I did send it to Drew about the intersection. Mr. Snowden, our conversations that we had with the law director, we cannot contractually make him do this at this point in time. It's the Smith-Davis rule. All right. So, but we do understand, did you get to have a conversation with Mr. Barak? I'm sorry. Did you get to have that conversation about they will be responsible 100% for the intersection?
Yeah, as part of the development plan, concept plan approval, our department certainly wants to make sure that any impacts negatively that are associated with this development are, mitigated by the development. So, if that traffic study does identify that as a problematic area, yes, we will require them to make improvements to mitigate their traffic volumes.
Well, I'm asking that the improvements be made anyway. Even if the traffic study doesn't come back, that intersection does need, it's at that angle where it's a dangerous And I know people don't like roundabouts. We could pull up a traffic history there. We'll probably see that there's been several cars run off in that curve right there. They need to slow down. They're not going to slow down. That doesn't matter. It needs to be a roundabout to make them slow down. I don't know if that would work or not, but that's in the concept plan.
Yeah, and I think that would be very useful. You're right, that curve,
Terrible.
we have requests for guardrail there all the time. Intersection, you've got Goddard Road comes in there too, so it's very, it's just an unusual layout that a roundabout, I think, would be the best fit for that. Yes, sir.
Yeah. We'll see. Mr. Mullins, is that agreeable? On record?
My client shook his head yes, so I will go on record and say yes.
All right, next one, don't move. All right, you and I discussed about the peripheral setback. We agreed on a 35-foot setback and a 15-foot non-disturbance zone.
That's correct. I think what we wanted, if we having to do the property, if we have to grade into that area for one reason or another, we would replant that 15-foot area. But yes, that's what we discussed.
And we know that, and I know that it's not there at the entrance. That's not going to, the entrance is different. But the property owners on the east side, which is very, very wooded, of course, you cannot cross the creek. You'll have to stay off the creek 50 feet anyway. Mm-hmm. And then on the west side and the north side, there's some mature trees that 15-foot non-disturbance buffer. It don't sound like a lot, but right now in the green, it hides a lot. In the wintertime, it might not, but in the winter, that 15-foot means a lot on that. So you are agreeable to that, correct?
Yes.
On record?
Yes, sir.
All right, got you on record, on TV.
Under oath.
Under oath, that's right. And the south side, you've already said it, but I'm going to confirm it again. The south side of the creek will be put in a conservation easement. It will never be touched.
That's correct.
And that is perfect. That's what needs to happen there.
It'd be difficult to develop that anyway. If somebody did, that it would be a mess. So yes, that's fine.
It could be developed. They'd have to put a bridge across Stock Creek, but it could be developed, and it doesn't need to be developed because I know the property owners personally that back there, not in my lifetime will that ever be developed. There's no, I'll be 65 in September, and I've known them as long as I can remember. That land will stay the way that it is on that. So that conservation easement up through there is perfect. And hopefully the other people that got the land on above that, they will do the same thing. Because it's not really developable on that side of the road. It is developable, but you got to have a bridge across Stock Creek to get there. Mm-hmm. And that's very, very expensive to do. So those were the main things that I want to make sure happen. So I wanted to get that out front, and so anybody else has got some questions now, that they can feel free to ask.
Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 questions. Mr. Snowden, I understand that site some time ago was the home of Atlas Powder Company, a dynamite manufacturer. What's the process for determining soil issues or anything left over from a previous industrial site when starting to build people's homes?
And Ben may be able to speak a little bit about this too. From our perspective, that's something we don't deal with on a daily basis. We're just looking for a TDEC notice of coverage. So I would assume TDEC would have a pretty a robust involvement in that grading permit because of those potential for soil contaminants.
And we've done initial testing, and we think, it won't be an issue with that, but that's something, again, that's ongoing in permitting that, as we
So
move
TDEC
forward.
would have to make sure to give you a sign off on that?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Correct, yeah. We only issue a grading permit after TDEC issues a notice of coverage, so we're just a subservient agency there.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Brooks, help me understand, I was trying to read through the notes here. The staff recommended 2 units an acre because it's consistent with our current comprehensive plan. County Commission, help me understand the 2 units of acre versus the 4 units an acre and the timing and where we are, because this is a very rural area. And I'm confused as to why it's above and beyond what we've been talking about for quite some time now, which is 2 units an acre in a rural area.
Okay, if I understand your question correctly, so in this particular place type, up to 5 dwelling units per acre is considered consistent. So so the planning commission can consider up to 5.
Oh, okay.
In this area. Does that answer your question?
And yes,
And planning staff.
staff.
Yes, one of our primary concerns when looking at this was the access to the property. It's very limited. There's just a small section there that actually touches Tipton Station Road. So that was one of our concerns as well, given the size of the property and the development potential.
Okay, thank you. Can you remind me of the access plan? Or do you know yet?
Well, I mean, we will have one point of access. There's only has frontage on Timpson Station Road along one section. And typically when there's no other secondary access anywhere around the property. And typically what happens, we will have a boulevard entrance that will allow ingress and egress from 2 different methods to make sure. And that would be required whether we were developing this at 2 units an acre or the 4 units an acre that we've asked for, is that, you would have a boulevard entrance to, if one lane was shut down, the other lane could still function. And that as something that engineering has approved on similarly limited access, properties with limited access like this.
And final question, can you just reiterate the traffic improvements that you've agreed to, where those are and what that is?
Yeah, we're looking primarily at the intersection between Martin Mill Pike and Tipton Station. It kind of comes down and there's an odd curve, and then Goddard Lane has an intersection into it that's really close, and it just has some very odd angles. And so we're looking at studying that intersection and redoing that. There might need to be some right-of-way acquired in order to make that happen, but that's something that, our preliminary studies have shown we need to improve, whether that's a roundabout or realignment with, or however that needs to be done. That's something that we'll work through at the development plan phase.
Yeah. Mr. Snowden, is that a candidate for a roundabout?
Well, we believe so. It's a unique situation with all those, anytime you have multiple intersections coming in at unique angles, roundabouts a way for us to kind of square things up. So, obviously need detailed geometric design need to be done, but we believe that might be a really viable option here.
Thank you.
Mr. Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Mullins, just a couple quick questions. Currently on the site, if you're approved for the 4 dwelling units an acre, you could do approximately 340 homes. Is that correct?
I knew you was going to ask me math, Commissioner Schoonmaker, so I did it before I came. Yeah, I think, about 340, 343, if the 4 units an acre, that's right.
Okay. And this is just, the developer is just taking a portion of the Schubert family property because
we're purchasing all of it.
But they're recorded as 155 acres, and they own the land below the stream, river, whatever that is. You're getting that whole?
Yes, the back 70 acres that is south of Stock Creek is what we're putting in the conservation easement. So we've acquired all 155 acres. Only the 85 acres is subject to the rezoning and the density.
Okay, so you're saying the 70 acres will not be a phase 2 of this project?
No, it'll be placed in the conservation easement, so will not be developed in the future in perpetuity.
And when would that transpire?
When they own the property.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. See?
Are there any other questions or comments? Rhonda, or Commissioner Lee?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to direct this towards Commissioner Jay. I'm not sure if he asked that question because he didn't know the answer or if he wanted the people listening in. But based with my experience in developing and building, EPA and the state would be very concerned about soil testing. So I think that would be an independent test. So if that lines up, I wouldn't have any issue. I think we're.
Commissioner Daly.
Madam Chair, thank you. When we say powder farm, I ran all over that as a little boy, rabbit hunting, squirrel hunting, and all that. When we say powder farm, that was the the dynamite came from Friendsville. There were block buildings, maybe 8 at the max. They're not even that many. Maybe there was 4 brick buildings. They bring them out there and store the dynamite inside those brick buildings, which is probably was 10 foot by 10 foot. Not very big buildings and all. There was no manufacturing of dynamite on site at all. It was just the storage facilities. Those brick buildings are gone now. They're not even there anymore. So thank you for, TDEC will do the inspection and everything, but it was not a manufacturing site. So, and thank you, Commissioner Schoonmaker, for getting that on record again. That 70 acres will never be touched. It'll be in a conservation easement. So I am going to try to make this motion as much as I can here. Well, I can't do the first one because the law director will I'll get in trouble. But I can do this. I'd like to make a motion to approve, let me find it again here. Approve PR for up to 4 dwelling units per acre with a 35-foot peripheral setback with a 15-foot non-disturbance area. And if any area is disturbed, there will be a Class B screening. I think B will be okay. B will be good. And at the south side of the creek, the 70 acres will be in a conservation zone.
All right, we have a motion on the floor by Daly, a second by Schoonmaker. And I know that our county clerk got every bit of that. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Your motion carries. Next item, please.
Item number 14 is a request of Masana Investments LLC for rezoning from CA General Business and A Agricultural to PR Plan Residential up to 5 dwelling units per acre, located at 7920 and 8014 Asheville Highway, parcel ID 073 08008 08003 and 062164 in the 8th Commission District.
Thank you. You are the applicant?
Yes, ma'am. Drew Staton, P.O. Box 11315, Knoxville, Tennessee 37939.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to this plan, to this rezoning? Seeing none, Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve PR Plan Residential Zone up to 5 dwelling units per acre because it's consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and surrounding development.
All right. Would you like to speak to your project?
Unless there are any questions, no, ma'am. Just respectfully request the approval per both staff and Planning Commission recommendation.
All right. Commissioners, are there any questions? I just have one comment. I think this is the first one we've had tonight where staff and planning and where staff recommendation and planning commission have actually lined up with the ask of the developer. So that's a good thing, I think. Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you're planning, you have the possibility, if this is approved, to go up to 245 homes on this track?
Yes, sir. To my knowledge.
Thank you.
Commissioner Beeler?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Drew, is this the one where you wanted to retain the CA zoning?
Thank you, Commissioner Beeler. So we inadvertently on our application to planning included the CA portion to be quote unquote rezoned in front of this body. We did not mean to do that. And so we'd prefer for what's currently zoned CA to remain CA and everything behind it be considered for PR.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does, yes. I'd spoke with Mr. Moyers about this as well, and it does appear that planning did consider the CA zone as part of this application. If there are any other questions, I suppose even if I make a motion, we could still ask questions. But this is on the Asheville Highway corridor, similar to the one we had earlier. Again, this is a 4-lane divided highway. This is a mixed-use corridor. It is, to coin a phrase here from Commissioner Jay, or to borrow a phrase from Commissioner Jay, this is exactly the kind of development we're looking for in this kind of location because of the infrastructure and so forth. But because this is a mixed use and commercial corridor, it makes sense to retain the corner of this that's already zoned CA. So my motion then that I'd like to offer is to approve this rezoning of the ag portion of these parcels to PR with a density up to 5 dwelling units per acre, and to leave the portion that is currently zoned CA as is.
Thank you. We have a motion by Beeler, second by Schoonmaker. Is there any further Ward, excuse me. Is there any additional discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, we have 2 that need to be recalled here.
The first one is on page 1, item 1, request of Knox Williams from A to RA on Dutchtown Road.
Hi. Are you here as the applicant?
Push the button.
Okay. Whoops, Hardin Valley. I'm sorry. Could you press that button there? Okay. All right, let's try this again. Your name and address?
Benny Mormon, 10308 Hardin Valley Road.
Thank you.
Here requesting your action as an approval and answer any questions that I can, but I'm on short notice to be.
Okay, thank you. Is there any opposition to this particular rezoning? Seeing none, Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve RA low-density residential zone because it's consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and other development in the area, and this was approved on consent.
All right, thank you. Would you like to speak to this project? All right, no comment. This is 0.88 acres, is that correct? Less than an acre, all right. Are there any comments before I turn this over to Commissioner Oster? Seeing none, Commissioner Oster.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually spoke to Mr. Williams regarding this, and he's going to do a fix-up of the current home that's there, and then they're going to add one other home for his in-laws, and you already have the driveway in the location, right? And that family is almost all up and down Dutchtown, so they're aware of the flood zone and all that kind of stuff. So we're good on that. So I am completely fine to approve the RA zone because it is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Do I have a second? We have a motion to approve this per Planning Commission recommendation by Oster, second by Beeler. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Your motion carries. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming down. Appreciate it. Next item, please.
The next item is listed on page 3. It's item number 8, request of Elizabeth Davis Raines. Okay.
Oh. All right. Hold on just a moment, please. Stay right there and let her finish reading the motion or the item.
This is for rezoning from A agricultural to RA low-density residential on Gibbs Road.
Thank you.
Ma'am,
You
were
are
you sworn in earlier? Okay, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay.
Thank you, Director Moyers.
Apologize, I'm a little bit tired.
That's all right. Could you pull the microphone down just a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit? There we go.
Sure.
You are the applicant, and I see that there's, oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
Well, I can't avoid that.
that's,
Last
Okay.
time I brought the surveyor, he told me I might not have to talk, and he couldn't come. He'd be out of town.
Well, everybody just smile at her.
okay,
right.
you are here. We are glad you are here. There's no opposition. Director Brooks, would you read the recommendation, please?
Certainly. Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve RA low-density residential zone for part of the parcel requested in Exhibit B because it is consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and other development in the area.
Sounds great. Can I make a comment?
Yes, you can speak to your project.
Fell in love with that cow field in '87. Horses went out in '16. One fracture after the mowing, I quit, but my heart's in it. And it's hard to give it, but it's time to downsize. And I can still leave the daughter, maybe relocate me, which I'm almost ready for assisted living. And then maybe she can stay. And if not, we can do two pieces and not push her off the property by having to do it all at once. But it's been real hard to chop it up. So I did convert the horse shed into a workshop, and all the men that have come to work on it are drooling because it's got electric, I got plumbing, it's got a roof, and I put siding after COVID started. So I've worked on it. I'm still working on it. And I do have to pay for the yard maintenance, and I have to downsize that because, as you see, I'm tilting.
Well, thank you.
So-
Thank you for being here and
Well, thank you,
explaining
and
that.
I've loved it. And
Hold on.
oh,
Are there any questions or comments regarding this?
Oh, one other thing, two people fussed about the traffic because all the Gibbs School uses the traffic, or uses that road, but they're not knocking down the mailboxes anymore like they did in '87 every holiday. So it's much improved. I just never put one up there. I just used the post office because I kept putting them up. But they stopped all that. It's civilized, a little more
Thank
than
you.
it was. It's
Thank
a
you.
great place.
All right. I
All
believe
right.
you could probably be seated now, and I'll turn this over to Commissioner
Oh.
Beeler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for being here, Ms. Raines. It is a
Got
beautiful
some
place.
feelers on- I think I got
I don't live far from you.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
I don't. And it is a narrow road, but I don't think you're going to create too much more traffic.
I started on Gibbs Estates. There were dealers in there too.
There you go. My brother used to live in there.
I think there was a Girl Scout leader that was a dealer.
Oh, there's dealers everywhere, let me just tell you. I'd like to make a motion, we approve this per recommendation of planning.
We have a motion by Beeler, second by Daley, to approve as recommended. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Your motion carries, ma'am. Good luck on your project.
I'm happy, but, it's gonna make me cry if I have to do that, so.
Commissioners, I made an error at the beginning of this agenda when I asked for approval. I should have pulled out, and since this is our new format, I should have pulled out the items that were on defer or withdrawn. Well, not withdrawn, the deferred items. So I need a motion, please, on item 10, 6L24RZ, that's requested a deferral to August. I'd like-
Motion to defer.
Motion by
Ward.
Ward, second by Jay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I also need a motion, please, on item 15.
Motion to defer. 15.
All right, we're referring to RN24RZ. Thank you. Motion by Ward, second by Jay to defer till August. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Does that,
Do we need to withdraw 16 or no?
we don't need a motion on a withdrawal.
Okay. Even though we didn't set it originally?
Pardon?
Just part of it, okay.
Would you like to make a motion
No,
on that?
I'm just asking. I just wanted the.
I typically
I'm not-
announce them,
yeah,
but,
That's what I'm saying. You usually do. That's why I'm wondering.
All right.
So,
I'm going to move on to amendments to Knox County zoning ordinance. It's item 17. You all hang on.
It's an ordinance amending the Knox County Code, Appendix A zoning, Article 5, Zone Regulations, Section 5.31 and 5.32, CA General Business and CB Manufacturing and Business and Manufacturing Zones respectively, adding clinics, medical offices, dental offices, and other medical uses of a similar nature and size, and multi-dwelling developments and structures with a density of up to 12 dwelling units as a permitted use, and multi-dwelling developments and structures with a density above 12 dwelling units an acre as uses permitted on review, and amendments to Article 2, definitions, Section 2.20, specific terms, to add a definition for upper-level dwellings. This amends Ordinance O-90-9-130, adopted September 10th, 1990, as amended, and this is on second reading.
Thank you. And Planning Commission recommendation on that was approve proposed amendments by a vote of 12-0. Are there any questions or comments on this? Seeing none, we have to do a roll call on this. Is that correct? Yes. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Beeler, second by Durrett to approve. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lundy,
Aye.
Commissioner Darrett.
Aye.
Commissioner Oster. Commissioner Ward.
aye.
Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Commissioner Beeler.
Aye.
Commissioner Daly.
Aye.
Commissioner Jay. And Commissioner Frazier is absent.
Thank you. Motion passes. Do we have anybody for public forum? Any comments? Do we have any other business? Yes, sir.
Y'all should have got an invitation. If you're not, you got an invitation tonight to the Freedom Farmers Banquet this Friday night at Heartland Meadows out in Halls. Very good event. Colonel, can't think of his name right off the bat, but he will be the guest speaker at 6 o'clock in Halls. Heartland Meadows, I think is what it's called.
All right. Is there any other business to be brought before this body?
Just
Seeing-
remember
I'm
your
sorry.
orange.
Oh, thank you. Reminder to wear orange. Anything else? We are adjourned.